Deep underground, ancient artists carved entire temples without any apparent light source. These cavern temples, from the rock-cut monasteries of India to the vast underground cities of Turkey, are illuminated by methods that still puzzle modern researchers. By the end of this journey, you will understand the incredible engineering and spiritual insight behind these mysterious places. How did ancient builders flood these windowless halls with a soft, even glow, and what forgotten knowledge allowed them to master light itself? What does our struggle to explain their methods reveal about our own understanding of the past? These structures represent one of humanity's most ambitious architectural endeavors. A cavern temple is far more than a simple cave. It is a complex deliberately carved from the living rock, designed to be a permanent place for worship, deep meditation, and community life. Across the globe, from the Buddhist monasteries hewn into Chinese cliffs to the subterranean churches of Ethiopia, builders faced the same profound challenge. How do you fill a space deep underground, a place with no windows and often only a single entrance with usable light? The term cavern temple specifically applies to those spaces where natural light from the surface cannot reach the inner chambers. This forced ancient engineers to become masters of artificial illumination. What truly captivates researchers is not just that they brought light into the darkness, but the quality of light they achieved. In many of these temples, the glow is soft, widespread, and surprisingly even, avoiding the harsh shadows and dim corners you would expect from a simple torch or oil lamp. This suggests a sophisticated, perhaps even lost, knowledge of how light behaves. It makes us wonder about the builder's ultimate goal. Was their lighting solution purely about practicality, allowing people to see and function? Or did light itself carry a deeper, symbolic weight, representing enlightenment, divinity, or the triumph of order over chaos? To grasp the scale of this mystery, we need to step inside some of the world's most breathtaking illuminated caverns. The Ajanta caves unfold within a secluded horseshoe-shaped gorge in India, a silent sanctuary carved over centuries. Here, 30 Buddhist monuments were hewn directly from the cliff face, beginning over 2,000 years ago. These are not merely caves, but grand prayer halls and monasteries adorned with some of the most intricate and vibrant ancient art known to humanity. The walls and ceilings are covered with breathtaking murals illustrating the life of the Buddha and ancient moral stories, all painted with a level of detail that seems impossible for a dark, enclosed space. This is the core of the mystery. How could artists execute such precise brushwork, and how could communities gather for ceremony in chambers where no direct sunlight ever reached? The absence of soot stains on these priceless paintings is a profound clue. It tells us the light source used was remarkably clean, unlike the smoky torches or simple oil lamps we might first imagine. Researchers have noted reflective pools of water in some chambers and the potential use of highly polished metal mirrors to bounce and diffuse light. Yet these elements alone struggle to explain the soft, even glow that would have been necessary to illuminate the artist's work without casting deep, disruptive shadows. The solution seems to have been a sophisticated combination of methods, a lost technology of illumination that allowed art and devotion to flourish deep within the earth. This intricate puzzle in India is not an isolated phenomenon. An almost identical mystery of light echoes across the world within the vast subterranean cities of Cappadocia. Descending into the Derinkuyu underground city feels like entering a hidden world. Carved deep into the soft volcanic rock of Cappadocia, This was not a temporary shelter but a vast, multi-level complex capable of housing up to 20,000 people for extended periods. Imagine an entire city with streets, living quarters, storerooms, churches, and even wine presses, all existing in perpetual twilight far below the Earth's surface. The sheer scale forces a difficult question. How did a community function, let alone thrive, in such an environment where the deepest levels were plunged into absolute darkness? The absence of soot on the ceilings here is just as telling as it was in the Ajanta caves. This was a clean space, meaning the primary light sources did not rely on burning materials that would choke the air in these sealed chambers. Instead, the architecture itself provides clues. Narrow ventilation shafts, essential for bringing fresh air from the surface, may have served a dual purpose. Researchers suggest these shafts could have been strategically angled to funnel tiny beams of daylight deep into the city, perhaps amplified and redirected by highly polished bronze discs or sheets of polished stone placed at certain intervals. Small, carefully carved niches in the walls repeat throughout the complex. While some might have held simple oil lamps, their specific placement at corridor junctions and in the centers of large rooms hints at a deliberate plan for light distribution. The goal was not just to have light, but to have the right kind of light. In a communal room where people gathered for safety, a single flickering torch would cast long, dancing shadows, creating pockets of blindness that could lead to accidents or fear. The evidence at Derinkuyu points to a system designed to create a soft, even glow, illuminating the entire space to maintain order and a sense of calm. This was lighting for survival and social cohesion, a practical masterpiece of urban engineering hidden beneath the ground. Yet, this practical application of ancient light technology stands in stark contrast to another site, where illumination was not merely functional, but the very heart of a spiritual message. This spiritual dimension transforms the Cavern Temple from a mere shelter into a profound instrument. Light was not just a tool for vision, it was the physical manifestation of the divine, a symbol of ultimate knowledge and life itself. We see this sacred relationship with illumination echoed across the ancient world. In the sun-drenched temples of Egypt, architects designed structures to capture a single beam of sunlight on a specific day of the year, dramatically lighting up a statue of a god during a solstice ceremony. This was not an accident of construction. It was a calculated theatrical event designed to inspire awe and reinforce a cosmic order. The builders of the cavern temples were working toward a similar goal, but with a far greater challenge. They had to become the creators of their own sacred light, engineering it from nothing in the heart of the earth. Imagine a ceremony in a windowless prayer hall. A shaft, meticulously angled from the surface, allows a solitary beam of sunlight to pierce the darkness for just a few minutes each day, striking a central altar or a sacred statue with pinpoint accuracy. In that moment, the divine was not an abstract idea. It was a visible, tangible presence filling the room. This controlled use of light could physically map a spiritual journey. The darkness of the cave's entrance represented ignorance or the material world. As a devotee moved deeper inside, guided by carefully placed lamps or reflected light, they were symbolically traveling from confusion toward clarity, from darkness into enlightenment. This theme is central to both Buddhism and Hinduism, where the inner light of understanding is the ultimate goal. This symbolic necessity explains the immense effort behind the lighting systems. It was not enough to simply see. The quality of the light had to be perfect, a soft and even glow that calmed the mind and lifted the spirit, free from the chaotic flicker of a common flame. The mystery, therefore, deepens. The builders were not just engineers, they were spiritual technicians weaving light and shadow into the very fabric of their faith. So, what specific, ingenious methods did they use to achieve this sacred illumination? One leading explanation points to a technology of mirrors. The theory suggests that ancient builders used sheets of highly polished bronze or copper to capture sunlight at a cavern's entrance and bounce it deep into the interior. Simple experiments demonstrate the power of this idea. A single mirror can throw a surprising amount of light, but a carefully arranged series of them could guide that light around corners and into the deepest chambers, transforming a direct beam into a soft, diffused glow. At sites like the Ellora Caves in India, researchers have noted curious grooves and perfectly positioned holes carved into the rock walls. These features seem deliberately placed to hold reflective plates at precise angles, creating a kind of ancient relay system to distribute light evenly across a space. Mastering such a system would have required more than just skill with a hammer and chisel. It would have demanded a deep understanding of the sun's daily and seasonal journey across the sky. The angles of these mirrors would need constant, subtle adjustment to maintain a consistent flow of light from dawn until dusk, turning the temple itself into a complex astronomical instrument. Yet, this elegant theory faces practical hurdles. A bronze mirror, no matter how well polished, would naturally tarnish and lose its reflectivity over time, requiring continual maintenance. More importantly, critics question whether even a perfectly maintained system could provide enough consistent, bright light for artists to paint intricate murals or for scribes to read sacred texts in windowless rooms far from the entrance. Despite these challenges, the discovery of highly polished metal discs and sheets near several cavern sites keeps the reflective surface theory alive and compelling. It presents a picture of ancient engineers as masters of their environment, using simple, brilliant physics to conquer the dark. But what if their solution was not solely reliant on metal and human ingenuity? What if they also harnessed the light-amplifying properties of a far more common and humble material? Another ingenious solution may have been carved directly into the rock itself. Picture a narrow, perfectly straight shaft, no wider than a person's arm, drilled from the sunlit surface down into the heart of a pitch-black chamber. This is not a ventilation shaft, but a dedicated light channel, engineered to act like a natural fiber optic cable. In structures like the hypogeum of Hal Saflieni in Malta, a remarkable underground complex, researchers have found such shafts that align with specific seasonal sun positions. During the equinox, for example, a single, powerful beam of sunlight would travel down this stone tube, piercing the darkness below in a dramatic display. The engineering challenge here was immense. Carving a long, straight, and smooth channel through solid rock without modern laser guides or power tools required an almost superhuman level of precision. The builders needed a profound understanding of geometry and astronomy to calculate the exact angle needed to capture the sun's rays at a particular time of day or year. To soften the harsh, direct beam into a usable glow, they may have lined these shafts with highly polished stone or even capped them with a lens made of polished crystal. At the bottom, the light could have been scattered and diffused by a lining of brilliant white plaster, transforming a sharp sunbeam into a gentle, widespread radiance that illuminated the entire room. This method elegantly explains the complete absence of soot, as it relies entirely on pure, clean, natural light. Yet the sheer effort involved raises its own questions. Why go to such extraordinary lengths? It suggests that for these builders, achieving the perfect quality of light was a priority that justified any amount of labor. The light was not just illumination, it was a sacred ingredient, and these shafts were the delivery system for a divine presence. But once that pristine light entered the chamber, how did they make it spread even further, filling every corner with a soft, ethereal luminescence? Another possibility emerges from the very walls of the caves themselves, a theory that feels almost like something from a legend. Perhaps the ancient builders did not just reflect or channel light, but harnessed materials that produced their own gentle glow. This idea points to the use of naturally luminescent minerals or even living organisms. Certain types of quartz crystal, when strategically embedded in a wall, could catch a small beam of light and scatter it, making a single point of illumination bloom into a soft, ambient radiance. More remarkably, some researchers suggest the cultivation of bioluminescent fungi or algae. In the deep, humid recesses of a cavern, these organisms could have been nurtured on ledges or in special niches, providing a constant, cold light without any smoke or flame. This concept finds an echo in countless historical texts from across the globe that speak of ever-burning lamps or lights that required no fuel. Were these stories merely myths, or could they have been distant, garbled accounts of a real and forgotten technology? The challenge, of course, is proof. Organic materials like fungi and algae decay completely over centuries, leaving no trace for archaeologists to find. Without a clear, surviving installation, the theory remains in the realm of compelling speculation. Yet, it forces a profound shift in perspective. It invites us to consider that ancient science might have understood and utilized the natural world in ways we are only beginning to appreciate, blending biology with engineering to solve a fundamental human need. This line of thinking stretches our imagination, but how do we move beyond speculation to concrete understanding? The quest for answers has now moved from the shadowy caves into the bright light of the modern laboratory. The quiet darkness of these ancient temples is now being broken by the glow of modern computer screens. Teams of physicists and engineers are collaborating with archaeologists, using sophisticated digital tools to turn back time. They create precise three-dimensional models of entire cave systems, then fill them with virtual light. With light simulation software, they can test thousands of possibilities in minutes, experimenting with mirror angles and shaft placements that would have taken ancient builders a lifetime to perfect. At the Ajanta caves, this has moved from the digital realm into physical reality. Researchers have constructed and positioned exact replicas of proposed bronze mirrors based on the grooves found in the rock. By measuring the resulting light levels on the murals, they confirmed a long-held theory. A carefully arranged series of these polished discs can indeed flood a chamber with a soft, shadow-free radiance, perfect for both artistic work and quiet contemplation. Similar investigations have illuminated ancient Egypt. Ambitious reconstruction projects have demonstrated how narrow shafts could be engineered to direct a powerful beam of sunlight deep into a temple's inner sanctuary, transforming a dark hall into a sacred space for a few brilliant moments. A consistent finding emerges from these global experiments. The most effective illumination was never achieved by a single method. The true genius lay in a sophisticated combination of techniques. A shaft of sunlight might be captured and reflected off a bronze plate. Then that beam would be scattered by a wall painted in a brilliant white plaster, diffusing the light evenly throughout the room. This hybrid approach required a holistic understanding of physics, architecture, and human perception. The scientific inquiry goes even deeper into the very chemistry of the stone itself. Advanced tools like spectrometers are used to analyze the walls, searching for microscopic residues of luminescent minerals or organic compounds that might have once coated niches or channels. While these high-tech investigations provide invaluable clues, they often highlight the limits of our modern understanding. Some of the lighting effects described in ancient texts, a perfectly steady and cool glow throughout a vast hall, remain frustratingly difficult to replicate with the materials we believe were available. This scientific journey brings us tantalizingly close to the truth, yet in doing so, it deepens the central mystery. It forces us to ask not just how they built these systems, but why. What powerful cultural beliefs and historical necessities drove this relentless pursuit of perfect light deep within the earth? These lighting achievements did not appear in a vacuum. They were born from a remarkable era of global intellectual awakening, a time when the human mind was systematically unlocking the secrets of the natural world. From roughly the 5th century BC onward, civilizations from the Mediterranean to the Indian subcontinent were experiencing parallel explosions in knowledge. In Greece, thinkers like Archimedes were laying the foundations of physics and exploring the principles of optics, studying how light reflects and bends. At nearly the same time in India, the Sushruta Samhita documented astonishingly advanced surgical procedures, demonstrating a deep, practical understanding of the human body. This was an age of shared inquiry, where ideas on mathematics, astronomy, and materials science traveled along bustling trade routes, influencing architects and engineers thousands of miles apart. This cross-pollination of knowledge is crucial to understanding the Cavern Temples. A builder in India calculating the perfect angle for a light shaft was likely using geometric principles similar to those being formalized by Euclid in Alexandria. The development of standardized units of measurement, seen in the consistent proportions of pillars and chambers, allowed for precise construction that could be replicated across vast projects. This shared intellectual toolkit provided the fundamental rules needed to turn a grand vision into a tangible, illuminated reality. But knowledge alone was not enough. What provided the immense drive, the sheer will, to undertake decades of backbreaking labor? The answer lies in the profound societal role of these spaces. In a world where spiritual life was interwoven with daily existence, the creation of a temple was among the most important communal endeavors. The investment of resources and skilled labor reflected a collective priority, a shared belief that creating a gateway to the divine was worth any cost. This powerful cultural engine drove innovation, pushing builders to solve the seemingly impossible problem of lighting the underworld. Their solutions were not magical anomalies, but the pinnacle of their era's problem-solving spirit, a brilliant fusion of faith and engineering. To see this genius in action, we must now examine the specific architectural fingerprints they left behind. The architecture of these temples was a masterclass in manipulating light itself. Builders did not merely carve rooms, they sculpted the very path of illumination from the moment it crossed the threshold. Grand entrance portals were precisely oriented to capture the low-angled rays of the rising or setting sun, flooding the first chamber with a warm, directional glow. But that was only the beginning. Once inside, the light was coaxed and guided deeper. Walls were often coated in a brilliant white plaster, acting as a continuous reflective surface that bounced light forward into the darkest recesses, turning a single beam into a pervasive ambient radiance. The placement of every pillar and column was a calculated decision. Rather than being simple structural supports, they were arranged to form open sightlines, ensuring they would not cast long, obstructive shadows and would instead allow light to flow freely around them. Even the shape of the ceiling played a role. A smooth, curved vault overhead helped to scatter light evenly across the space below, preventing harsh patches of brightness and deep shadow, creating the soft, even illumination so essential for meditation and intricate artwork. Perhaps the most dramatic effects were reserved for special occasions. Some halls feature a central opening, an oculus that acts like a celestial spotlight. At a precise time of day or on a specific date like a solstice, a single, powerful beam of sunlight would pierce this opening, traveling across the floor to illuminate a sacred statue or altar in a breathtaking display of divine timing. This intentional choreography of light and stone reveals a profound truth. These builders were not just reacting to darkness, they were designing with light as a primary material. They possessed an intuitive yet incredibly advanced understanding of how light moves and behaves, an ancient science of photometrics that guided every cut of the chisel. This architectural genius raises a practical question, one that brings us to the very tools of creation. With what instruments did they achieve such flawless precision in their underground workshops? The tools that carved these wonders were surprisingly simple. Iron chisels, heavy hammers, and abrasive sand were the primary instruments for sculpting solid rock. Yet, the methods employed reveal a sophisticated understanding of engineering. Builders often worked from the ceiling downward, a logical approach that eliminated the need for massive scaffolding and ensured that debris fell clear of finished work. To tackle stubborn rock faces, they likely used water, either to soften the stone for easier carving or to suppress the choking clouds of dust that would have filled the enclosed spaces. But one question looms larger than all others. How did they see what they were doing? The creation of the lighting system itself had to happen in near total darkness. The solution was probably a combination of portable light and meticulous teamwork. A worker might have held a simple oil lamp fitted with a polished reflector, directing its beam onto a specific section of wall, while another artisan followed that pool of light with their chisel. The incredible precision of the sculptures and murals, with their perfectly straight lines and balanced proportions, suggests they used physical guides. Templates made of wood or cloth or strings coated in pigment could have been pressed against the rock to mark out designs before any carving began. This construction phase was the ultimate test for their lighting ideas. They were literally building the system that would later illuminate their finished work, refining their techniques in real time based on what actually allowed them to see and carve effectively. The light needed for a sculptor to trace a delicate floral pattern was the same quality of soft, shadow-free glow that a meditating monk would later require. This interplay between practical necessity and spiritual purpose was constant. The builders were not just creating a space, they were engineering an experience, and the light was its most vital component. This deep, symbolic meaning is what truly powered their relentless innovation. The darkness of the cavern was not empty. In many ancient traditions, descending into the earth was a profound spiritual act, a symbolic journey into the subconscious mind or the realm of the ancestors. The deliberate journey from the sunlit world into this absolute blackness mirrored the soul's passage from ignorance toward wisdom. Against this canvas of intentional darkness, every beam of light was a carefully placed revelation. When a single ray was directed to strike a statue of the Buddha at dawn, it did more than illuminate the carved stone. It created a moment of sudden, dramatic epiphany, making the divine feel tangibly present. This was illumination as spiritual awakening, a physical manifestation of enlightenment itself. This symbolic language of light was not static, but a dynamic storytelling tool. In some traditions, attendants may have moved lamps through darkened halls, their shifting light and shadow playing across wall carvings to enact sacred stories of creation or moral tales. In certain Mayan cave systems, this concept was engineered into the very architecture. Narrow apertures were positioned so that on a solstice or equinox, the sun would project a distinct dagger of light onto a specific glyph or symbol on the cave floor. The temple was transformed into a cosmic clock, its silent chambers marking the sacred rhythm of the seasons and connecting the world below to the heavens above. This meticulous choreography transformed the temple from a passive shelter into an active participant in ritual. It was a machine for generating spiritual experience. The psychological impact of this journey was immense. After navigating the disorienting darkness, a worshipper emerging into a brightly lit inner sanctuary, its walls glowing with a soft, ethereal light, would feel an overwhelming sense of arrival, peace, and divine grace. This powerful emotional arc was not an accident. It was the entire purpose. The lighting was designed to physically guide a person through the stages of a spiritual quest, from confusion to clarity, from seeking to finding. This deep symbolic necessity explains the immense, painstaking effort behind the lighting systems. The builders were not merely solving an engineering problem of how to see. They were fulfilling a spiritual imperative to create moments of transcendence. This fundamental drive to use light as a sacred language appears across the globe, yet its specific vocabulary and grammar change dramatically from one culture to the next, revealing a stunning diversity in how humanity sought to touch the divine from within the earth. A polished bronze mirror in India and a bitumen-lined shaft in Mesopotamia are worlds apart, yet they solved the same fundamental human need. This global tapestry of light reveals how each culture's solution was a unique reflection of its environment and worldview. The Buddhist monks of Ajanta, for instance, worked with the abundant water and metal ores of their lush gorge, using reflective pools and possible bronze discs to create a soft, spiritual glow ideal for meditation and intricate art. Far to the west, the builders of Mesopotamian ziggurats, operating in a sun-scorched landscape, lined their light shafts with bitumen, a naturally occurring tar, to create smooth, durable channels that would funnel the intense desert sunlight deep into ceremonial spaces without crumbling. Across the ocean, the ancestral Pueblones, often called the Anasazi, faced a different challenge in the American Southwest. Their cliff dwellings were bathed in indirect light, so they amplified what little they had by plastering their walls in brilliant white gypsum, turning shadowy alcoves into softly luminous living spaces. Meanwhile, beneath the streets of Rome, early Christian communities needed a different kind of solution for their catacombs. They relied on simple oil lamps, but engineered sophisticated ventilation shafts to whisk away the smoke, ensuring these underground memorial sites remained clear and breathable for mourners and pilgrims. What connects these disparate methods is a profound ingenuity with passive systems. From the sun-powered shafts of Mesopotamia to the reflective walls of the American Southwest, these were sustainable technologies that required no ongoing fuel, only a deep understanding of the local landscape and the behavior of light itself. This comparative view shifts the entire mystery. It shows that the puzzle of the cavern temples is not a series of isolated anomalies, but part of a universal human story. From India to Italy, humanity was independently arriving at the same brilliant conclusion, demonstrating a shared, innate drive to push back the darkness not with brute force, but with elegant, intelligent design. This shared intellectual journey inevitably leads our gaze upward, to the celestial clockwork that guided the hands of these ancient engineers. The precise alignment of these structures with the cosmos transforms them from static shelters into dynamic celestial instruments. At Newgrange in Ireland, a massive 5,000-year-old passage tomb sits silently in the landscape. Above its entrance, a narrow opening known as a roof box was engineered with stunning precision. For just a few minutes at dawn on the winter solstice, and for a handful of days on either side, a single, narrow beam of sunlight travels directly up the long, dark passageway to dramatically illuminate the inner burial chamber. This was not a random occurrence. It was a calculated event, a moment where the sun itself was invited to penetrate the deepest, most sacred part of the structure, symbolically bringing life and warmth at the year's darkest hour. This phenomenon required the builders to possess an intimate knowledge of the solar cycle, observing and recording the sun's shifting position on the horizon for generations. A similar celestial choreography is found in the rock-cut temples of India. At the Kailasa temple at Ellora, the entire monolithic structure is oriented so that the rays of the setting sun during the equinoxes dramatically spotlight the main shrine. To achieve this, the architects needed more than just simple observation. They likely used basic but effective tools like gnomons, which are essentially sticks placed vertically in the ground. By meticulously tracking the length and direction of the shadow cast by the gnomon throughout the year, they could map the sun's journey with remarkable accuracy. Water clocks, which measured time by the steady drip of water from one vessel to another, may have helped them track the hours to verify their solar calculations. This integration of cosmic cycles into architecture reveals a worldview where heaven and earth were intimately connected. The light beam was not merely a signal for a ceremony. It was the ceremony itself, a physical bridge between the human realm and the divine order. The sheer complexity of these alignments, achieved millennia before modern precision instruments, deepens the central mystery, pushing us to look closer at the very substances they used to shape and control this sacred light. This leads us directly to the material science behind their luminous achievements. The true magic of these ancient lights lay not just in their design, but in the very substances that composed them. Ancient engineers were master material scientists, transforming raw elements into tools for manipulating photons. The quality of a bronze mirror, for instance, was everything. A simple cast metal sheet would offer a dull, distorted reflection, but a carefully polished alloy of copper and tin could achieve a near-perfect specular surface, capable of throwing a beam of light with startling clarity over long distances. The challenge, of course, was preservation. These metals naturally tarnish, clouding over with a dull patina that scatters light. It is plausible that ancient chemists developed protective coatings, perhaps using plant-based resins or waxes, to shield these precious reflective surfaces from the corrosive damp of the underground air, ensuring their brilliance endured. Beyond metals, the walls themselves became active components in the lighting system. Plaster was not merely a finish, it was an optical instrument. By mixing a lime-based whitewash with crushed, reflective materials, artisans created surfaces that seemed to generate their own light. Imagine a wall coated in a plaster infused with finely powdered crystal, mica, or even mother of pearl. When a single beam of sunlight struck it, the entire wall would shimmer, scattering the light into a soft, ambient glow that filled the room. This was not guesswork. It was the result of generations of empirical testing, a slow, meticulous refinement of recipes to find the perfect blend of brightness and diffusion. Modern experiments confirm the dramatic impact of these material choices. A replica chamber painted with simple mud will remain dark and gloomy, but the same space coated in a high-quality, reflective white plaster becomes visibly brighter, requiring far less direct light to feel illuminated. Every material choice was a deliberate step in an overarching strategy to conquer the dark with elegance and intelligence. This systematic optimization of light represents a forgotten pinnacle of ancient innovation, a legacy that, surprisingly, began to fade. Yet this golden age of ancient illumination did not last forever. A slow twilight fell upon these underground wonders as the world above them changed. New empires rose with different faiths, drawing populations toward bustling urban centers and grand surface temples. The secluded cavern monasteries, once thriving hubs of spiritual and intellectual life, were gradually abandoned. Their carefully engineered lighting systems fell silent, and the specialized knowledge required to build and maintain them began to fade into obscurity. This was not a sudden catastrophe, but a slow unraveling of a complex tradition. The secrets of angling a light shaft or polishing a bronze mirror to perfection were likely guarded by closed guilds of master builders, passed down orally from one generation to the next. When the demand for such intricate underground work vanished, these guilds disbanded, and their unique expertise vanished with them, lost in the silence between masters and apprentices. In some places, later communities moved into these empty spaces, completely unaware of their original purpose. They might have seen the strange grooves in the walls or the peculiar shafts leading upward, but they interpreted them as simple drains or ventilation, utterly missing the sophisticated optical function they were designed for. The true genius of the chambers remained hidden in plain sight. Then came the Industrial Revolution, which fundamentally reshaped humanity's relationship with light. The new paradigm was all about power and control, gas lamps and then electric bulbs that could flood a space with brightness at the flick of a switch. This dazzling new technology made the ancient passive method seem primitive and irrelevant, a relic of a superstitious past. Why would anyone bother with the sun's unreliable schedule when you could have instant, constant light? The focus of innovation shifted entirely, and the subtle art of working with natural light was largely forgotten. Today, we are left with only fragments of this vast knowledge. Clues survive in a handful of obscure manuscripts, in local folk tales that speak of caves that glowed from within, and in the architectural fingerprints we are only now learning to read. This profound loss highlights a sobering truth about human progress. Innovation is not a straight, ever-ascending line. It is a story of peaks and valleys, where brilliant solutions can be abandoned and entire libraries of practical wisdom can fall silent. The full context in which these lighting systems were conceived, a world that viewed light as sacred and engineered it with patience and profound observation, is gone. This is precisely why the puzzle has persisted for so long. We are trying to reconstruct a complex melody when we have only recovered a few of its notes. Yet, the same modern technology that once overshadowed these ancient methods is now offering us a second chance to listen. This technological renaissance is turning invisible history into a visible blueprint. LiDAR scanning, which uses lasers to map surfaces in meticulous detail, can detect the faintest of scratches on a cavern wall. What appears to the naked eye as simple weathering might be revealed by the laser as a deliberate, straight groove, perfectly angled to hold a polished stone reflector. Ground-penetrating radar peers deeper, sending signals into the rock to uncover hidden chambers or blocked-off shafts that were part of a larger, more complex lighting network. These non-invasive tools are crucial as they allow researchers to study these fragile sites without touching a single stone, preserving them for future generations. The investigation then moves into the digital realm, where three-dimensional models of the caves are bathed in virtual sunlight. Scientists can run the sun across its entire annual cycle in seconds, testing if a proposed mirror placement would have actually illuminated a specific mural at the winter solstice. This digital experimentation provides a testbed for theories that were once pure speculation, offering empirical data to support or refute long-held ideas. The analysis goes even further, down to the molecular level. Multispectral imaging can detect the ghost of a substance long since vanished, revealing the chemical fingerprint of organic compounds on a wall. A dark stain in a niche, once assumed to be soot, might instead be identified as the residue of a plant-based oil or a beeswax, telling us exactly what fuel burned in a lamp. Or, more intriguingly, it might reveal traces of a mineral like phosphorus or a bioluminescent fungus, pointing toward those legendary self-illuminating lights. This collaborative process, uniting the historian's context with the physicist's models and the chemist's analysis, is forging a new path forward. Breakthroughs that once required a lifetime of guesswork can now be simulated and tested in an afternoon, bringing us closer than ever to understanding the full scope of this ancient genius. Yet, as our tools for discovery grow more powerful, they force us to confront a profound responsibility. How do we balance our thirst for knowledge with the sacred nature of these spaces themselves? This delicate balance between discovery and preservation shapes every modern investigation. A cavern temple is far more than an archaeological site. It is a living space for prayer, a cultural landmark for a community, and a fragile ecosystem all at once. Researchers today operate under a strict ethical framework, understanding that their quest for knowledge must never override their duty to protect. This means that before any tool ever touches the stone, extensive conversations begin with local religious leaders and community elders. Their insights are not a formality, they are foundational, guiding what questions can be asked and how the work should proceed. This collaborative process ensures that scientific exploration honors the site's enduring spiritual role. The physical approach to study has also been refined to minimize impact. Instead of installing bright, modern lights that would shatter the ancient ambience and potentially damage delicate pigments, scientists now use incredibly subtle tools. A fiber optic probe, for instance, is a slender, flexible cable that can be threaded into the smallest of spaces. It delivers a tiny, cool pinpoint of light exactly where needed, allowing for the detailed examination of a mural or inscription without flooding the entire chamber with an intrusive glow. Laser scanners used for mapping operate in darkness, their invisible beams meticulously recording the geometry of the space without leaving a trace. These methods represent a profound shift in philosophy. The goal is to listen to the site, not to interrogate it under a harsh light. There is also a vital responsibility to share the story correctly. When findings are presented to the public, whether in a museum exhibit or a documentary, the narrative must extend beyond engineering diagrams and light angles. It must weave in the cultural meaning, explaining why a beam of light was considered a divine messenger and why the perfect glow was so essential to the spiritual experience of those who built and used these spaces. This approach transforms a technical mystery into a human story, fostering a deeper, more respectful appreciation. The ultimate aim of this ethical research is not just to solve a puzzle for our own curiosity, but to ensure these sacred chambers, with all their mystery and beauty, remain intact and revered for the generations who follow us. This careful, considered approach brings us to a final, reflective question about the legacy of these places and what they continue to teach us. The true significance of these illuminated chambers extends far beyond their walls. If we can finally decode their lighting, we may have to rewrite entire chapters of our history books. This is not just about how they lit a room. It is a direct challenge to our long-held assumptions about ancient technological progress. The precision required to angle a light shaft or engineer a reflection system implies a working knowledge of optics and geometry that rivals, and in some cases even predates, the formal scientific principles we credit to later Greek thinkers. This suggests a timeline of discovery where complex ideas were being tested and applied in stone long before they were ever written down on parchment. Perhaps these builders were not merely skilled artisans, but the physicists and engineers of their day, operating with a sophisticated, practical science that we are only now beginning to recognize. This revelation hints at something even more profound: the possibility of shared knowledge across vast distances. How is it that similar concepts for manipulating light appear in India, the Mediterranean, and the Americas? While independent invention is certainly possible, the echoes are too compelling to ignore. They point toward the faint, ghostly outlines of networks, lost trade routes of ideas where concepts on astronomy and material science were exchanged alongside spices and silks. It suggests a past far more interconnected than our standard maps show, a world where brilliant solutions could travel, inspiring innovation across continents and cultures we once believed were separate. At its heart, this global drive to illuminate the underworld speaks to a universal human impulse. It is a powerful testament to our innate resilience and creativity, our refusal to let harsh environments limit our pursuit of beauty and meaning. These communities chose not just to survive in the dark, but to transform it into a canvas for their most sacred art and profound ceremonies. This perspective forces us to look at other ancient puzzles in a new light. The movement of massive stones for the pyramids, the celestial alignments of Stonehenge, the intricate masonry of Machu Picchu, perhaps these are not isolated anomalies but part of the same story, a narrative of human capability that we have consistently underestimated. The silent, glowing halls of the cavern temples serve as a permanent reminder that history is not a settled fact, but a living field of discovery where each new finding has the power to humble our modern pride. This re-evaluation of the past inevitably influences how we shape our future, sparking a creative dialogue between ancient wisdom and modern innovation that is already transforming the spaces we live in today. The ancient pursuit of perfect light is being reborn in our modern cityscapes. Architects and designers, faced with the urgent need for sustainable solutions, are looking back to these passive, sun-driven systems for inspiration. The principles are strikingly similar. A contemporary building might feature a massive central light well, a direct descendant of the ancient oculus, designed to funnel daylight deep into the heart of a structure, dramatically reducing the need for electric lights during the day. Walls are clad in subtly reflective materials that scatter and soften the incoming light, just as the white plaster once did in underground chambers. This is not mere imitation. It is a sophisticated revival of an ancient philosophy that views light as a fundamental architectural material to be shaped and guided, not just generated. The goal remains the same: to create spaces that are not only energy efficient but also psychologically uplifting, bathed in a natural glow that connects occupants to the rhythms of the day. This conscious return to ancient wisdom reveals a profound shift in how we think about our built environment. We are relearning that the most elegant solutions are often those that work in harmony with natural forces, rather than overpowering them. This same reverence for the interplay of light and space has captivated a new generation of artists who are drawn to the very caverns that started this mystery. They are using these ancient chambers as their canvas, creating installations that explore the same emotional territory as the original builders. An artist might project a slow-moving film of shifting colors onto a cavern wall, or suspend a sculpture that catches a single beam of sunlight, casting intricate, moving shadows across the stone. Their work is not about replicating the past, but about engaging in a conversation with it, using modern tools to evoke that timeless sense of awe and contemplation. The cavern becomes a collaborative partner, its ancient silence and profound darkness giving weight and meaning to every photon of light introduced. This artistic movement shows that the spiritual and emotional power of these spaces is undiminished. It proves that the human response to carefully crafted light in a place of darkness is a universal constant, connecting a 21st century visitor to a devotee from 2,000 years ago. This living legacy, from the drafting tables of green architects to the installations of underground artists, demonstrates that the methods of the cavern temples are far from obsolete relics. They are a vibrant source of inspiration, offering timeless solutions for a future that must learn to use resources more wisely. By studying how ancient cultures conquered the dark without consuming the world around them, we find a blueprint for a more harmonious and luminous future. This bridge of ingenuity, stretching across millennia, reminds us that the greatest innovations often lie not in what we invent anew, but in what we remember. And as we carry these lessons forward, a new tool is emerging that promises to preserve these fragile sites for all time, ensuring their mysteries remain accessible to future generations. This digital preservation effort arrives at a critical moment as the original caverns face unprecedented threats. Rising humidity from a changing climate can destabilize ancient plaster and fade priceless pigments. The sheer volume of visitors, while a testament to their wonder, brings in moisture and carbon dioxide that slowly degrade the delicate microenvironments these spaces have maintained for centuries. In response, a new form of immortality is being crafted. Through laser scanning and photogrammetry, every crack, carving, and contour of a temple is captured, creating a perfect digital twin that will last long after the original stone has weathered. This virtual archive does more than just record dimensions. It preserves the experience of light itself. You can now stand in your own home, put on a headset, and find yourself transported to the heart of the Ajanta caves. With a virtual reality simulation, you can witness the winter solstice sunbeam as it would have struck the altar 2,000 years ago, or toggle between different lighting theories to see how a series of bronze mirrors would have illuminated a mural. These immersive experiences are not just for public education, they are powerful research tools. A specialist in Japan can collaborate in real time with a team in Italy, both examining the same high-resolution model to measure light levels in a specific chamber or to test the acoustic properties of a hall. This global brain trust, connected by shared data, accelerates our understanding in ways that were once impossible. The digital copy becomes a permanent, indestructible record, a guarantee that the silent questions posed by these temples will never be silenced by time or tragedy. This fusion of cutting-edge technology and ancient mystery opens a new chapter for cultural heritage, ensuring that the legacy of light is never extinguished. Yet, for all our advanced tools, the story of the Cavern Temples is still shrouded in layers of modern misunderstanding. The allure of a forgotten super-civilization or extraterrestrial guidance is a powerful narrative, yet it consistently overlooks the true marvel. These lighting systems were not imported from the stars or a sunken continent, but were born from generations of human problem-solving, using the very materials at hand. Every polished bronze disc found by archaeologists, every smooth plastered wall, stands as direct evidence of this earthly ingenuity. We possess countless examples of ancient metalwork, from intricate jewelry to razor-sharp weapons, that demonstrate a mastery of polishing techniques capable of producing highly reflective surfaces. The claim that such mirrors were beyond their capability simply does not hold up to the physical artifacts we have recovered. Furthermore, the diversity of solutions itself argues against a single, lost source. The reflective pools of India, the deep light shafts of Malta, and the white plastered walls of the American Southwest represent distinct adaptations to local environments and resources, not the fragmented pieces of a singular, vanished technology. To credit aliens or Atlanteans is to rob the anonymous artisans, the countless engineers and laborers, of their rightful legacy. It was their patience, their cumulative observation, and their profound understanding of local materials that transformed dark rock into luminous sanctuaries. Embracing this grounded reality does not diminish the wonder, it amplifies it. The achievement becomes even more remarkable when we recognize it as a human one, a testament to what dedicated communities can accomplish through shared knowledge and skill. This focus on tangible human effort naturally directs our attention to the specific environmental challenges these builders faced, where the very climate and geography of a region directly shaped its unique approach to light. The environment itself became a silent partner in the design of these ancient lights. In the arid, stable climate of Cappadocia, the dry air preserved the brilliant polish on bronze and copper plates for generations, allowing reflective systems to function with minimal maintenance. Meanwhile, in the humid, monsoon-drenched caverns of Southeast Asia, a different challenge emerged. Metal would have tarnished rapidly in the damp, so builders likely turned to more durable materials, painstakingly polishing slabs of local stone into mirrors that could withstand the constant moisture. This geographical influence extended to the very path of the sun. At a high-latitude site like Newgrange in Ireland, the sun travels low in the sky even in summer, demanding light shafts with a steep, dramatic angle to capture its weak rays. Contrast this with a temple carved near the equator, where the sun passes almost directly overhead. Here, builders could design nearly vertical shafts that captured a powerful, concentrated beam of light at midday. The rhythm of the seasons dictated the system's reliability. In a region with a long, clear, dry season, a design dependent on direct sunlight was a safe bet. But in a monsoonal climate where the sun could vanish behind clouds for weeks, architects needed a backup plan. This might have meant relying more on reflected light from reflective pools of water, which could gather ambient light from an overcast sky, or perfecting the use of lamps and sustainable fuels that could provide a constant, if softer, glow during prolonged periods of gloom. This incredible adaptability is the true genius. There was no one-size-fits-all solution, only a masterful application of fundamental principles to the unique demands of rock, climate, and sun. This rich diversity of approaches, all aimed at the same goal, makes the researcher's task infinitely more complex, but it also points us toward the human minds that conceived them. Who were the individuals who translated these environmental constraints into luminous reality? The silent, glowing halls we admire today were carved by countless hands whose names have long since faded from memory. These were not anonymous laborers, but highly skilled artisans, often belonging to families and guilds where the secrets of the craft were a sacred inheritance. A father would teach his son not only how to hold a chisel, but how to listen to the sound it made against the rock, discerning a solid vein from a hidden fault line. This generational knowledge was their most valuable tool, a living library of techniques for everything from selecting the right stone to calculating the precise angle for a light shaft. They worked in an atmosphere of constant peril, suspended on scaffolding in near-total darkness, with the ever-present risk of rockfalls or a misplaced strike that could ruin months of painstaking work. Each smooth wall and perfectly proportioned pillar is a monument to their unwavering focus and physical endurance. Their motivation, however, stretched far beyond mere craftsmanship. For many, this was a form of devotion, a direct offering of their skill to honor the divine. The immense pride they took in their work is still visible in the most hidden corners of a temple, where details no human eye would ever regularly see are finished with the same exquisite care as the central altar. This deep personal commitment transformed a daunting engineering project into an act of profound faith. Their efforts were supported by an entire community that shared this vision. Inscriptions found at sites across India and the Mediterranean record donations from wealthy merchants, powerful officials, and even humble farmers. One pillar might be funded by a king's treasury, while a single small mural was paid for by a local weavers' guild. This collective investment shows that the creation of a cavern temple was a societal undertaking, a shared project that bound the community together in a common purpose. The builders themselves were the crucial link in this chain, translating the community's faith and resources into tangible, breathtaking reality. They were master problem solvers, true engineers who learned through relentless trial and error. We can almost see an ancient master sculptor holding a simple oil lamp up to a wall, watching how its light falls. He would notice how a curved surface softens a shadow, or how a patch of white plaster makes a dark corner seem brighter. This observation, repeated over a lifetime, led to the incremental innovations that now puzzle us, a slow, cumulative science born from direct, hands-on experience. Their legacy is not a single secret or a lost blueprint, but something far more profound, etched into the very stone. It is a testament to human perseverance and creativity, a reminder of what can be achieved when skill, faith, and community converge. This human connection is ultimately why their silent, illuminated chambers still captivate us so deeply. We look at their work and we see ourselves, our own struggles and triumphs reflected in the enduring light they left behind. The mystery of these ancient lights has a powerful grip on our imagination that is far more than academic. It taps directly into a fundamental human drive, our deep-seated need to solve puzzles and explore the unknown. When we stand before a perfectly illuminated underground hall, we are not just looking at an engineering marvel, we are confronting a riddle left by our own ancestors. This enigma challenges a comforting narrative we often hold, the idea of linear progress where each generation is inherently more advanced than the last. The sophistication of these lighting systems suggests that past civilizations possessed profound insights into the natural world, insights that our own technology-driven era has somehow overlooked or forgotten. This is not about lost super science, but about a different kind of knowledge, one built on patient observation and a harmonious relationship with materials and environment. The appeal is deeply emotional, evoking the same sense of wonder and reverence that a devotee would have felt millennia ago. To experience the soft glow in a silent cavern is to feel a connection across time, a shared human response to crafted beauty and controlled illumination. Psychologically, this mystery represents an open question, a cognitive gap that our minds are compelled to fill. It is this very itch of curiosity that has driven every modern investigation, from the physicist running light simulations to the archaeologist analyzing plaster samples. The puzzle refuses to be dismissed because it combines so many compelling elements: historical depth, scientific intrigue, and a timeless spiritual resonance. It reminds us that history is not a closed book full of settled facts, but a living, ongoing conversation between the past and the present. Every new finding, every digital model, adds another sentence to that dialogue, ensuring the story of these luminous temples will continue to captivate us for generations to come. The very tools that once seemed to overshadow these ancient methods are now opening paths to understanding them in ways we never thought possible. Artificial intelligence can sift through mountains of excavation reports, architectural surveys, and chemical analyses, searching for subtle correlations a human researcher might miss. It could cross-reference the placement of a light shaft in India with a similar feature in Turkey, identifying a shared design principle that points to a universal understanding of optics. In the laboratory, advanced materials science allows us to recreate ancient alloys not just as rough approximations, but with exact historical composition. We can then test these polished metal discs with lasers and spectrometers, precisely measuring their reflectivity and how they scatter light in a simulated cavern environment. This moves us from theoretical speculation to quantifiable data. Even our view from above is expanding. Satellites equipped with sophisticated sensors can scan vast landscapes, detecting minute variations in the earth that hint at buried structures or hidden entrances to undiscovered complexes. These space-based eyes might one day map a forgotten network of temples, revealing a grander architectural plan that explains the placement of individual light channels. The most promising shift, however, is in the composition of the research teams themselves. The era of the solitary archaeologist is giving way to vibrant collaborations where a physicist, a geologist, and a historian of religion sit at the same table. An optical engineer's model of light behavior can be informed by an ethnographer's record of a local oral tradition about cave spirits, creating a holistic picture that neither could achieve alone. This fusion of hard data and cultural context is our brightest hope for a definitive answer. The coming decades promise a cascade of such breakthroughs, where each solved piece of the puzzle illuminates the next. We stand on the threshold of finally hearing the silent story these stones have been trying to tell for millennia. It brings our exploration to a powerful conclusion, one that reframes everything we have learned. Our journey through these silent, illuminated halls brings us to a final reflection. We have walked with the ancient engineers who carved light from solid rock, exploring the elegant theories of polished mirrors and precisely angled shafts. We have considered the possibility of glowing minerals and the profound spiritual need to transform darkness into a symbol of enlightenment. These are not separate puzzles, but different facets of a single, breathtaking human achievement. The true legacy of these cavern temples is not a single, lost secret, but a powerful testament to the creativity and resilience of our ancestors. They refused to accept the dark, choosing instead to master it with intelligence and profound patience. Their work continues to challenge our modern assumptions, reminding us that technological sophistication can wear many faces across the centuries. It is a humbling and inspiring lesson in the boundless potential of the human spirit. As you step back into the light of your own world, we invite you to carry this sense of wonder forward. What other ancient mysteries captivate your imagination? Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below, and join us as we continue to explore the great enigmas of our shared past. Thank you for venturing deep into the earth to uncover this story of light.